A very good evening and a warm welcome to Biz RoundUp on another weekend. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Discussions underway to secure $1 billion under special bilateral swap agreement with the Reserve Bank of India. BOI inks the agreement to build state-of-the-art 16-story office complex. Diplomats call the government to disclose their firm stance on the MCC agreement. News in detail. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka announces that it has entered into a currency swap agreement with the Reserve Bank of India in last week. CBSL also notes that further discussions are ongoing to secure an additional $1 billion under a special bilateral swap agreement with the Reserve Bank of India.
The High Commission of India has conveyed this information to senior officials in the Government of Sri Lanka and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Deputy High Commissioner Vinod K. Jacob had met and discussed the currency swap arrangement with the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Professor W.D. Lakshman, on 14th of July. Taking forward productive bilateral cooperation between Sri Lanka and India, High Commission facilitated constructive technical discussions on rescheduling of bilateral debt repayment by Sri Lanka last Wednesday. These positive developments illustrate active implementation of the leadership-level commitment to work together for addressing the challenges arising from the COVID-19 pandemic and further the mutually beneficial India-Sri Lanka partnership, including in the economic domain.
The Board of Investment of Sri Lanka inks the $8.1 million agreement to set up a state-of-the-art 16-story office complex which will provide direct employment opportunities for 200 employees. The Board of Investment of Sri Lanka has signed an agreement with Valuable Properties Limited to construct of its state-of-the-art 16-story office complex. This project, with a total value of $8.1 million will be set up at Colombo 3 and provide direct employment for 200 employees. The project will be completed within 18 months. The agreement was signed on behalf of the BOI by Chairman of Board Susantha Ratnayaka with Managing Director of Valuable Finance PLC S.B. Rangamua. Managing Director of Valuable Finance PLC S.B. Rangamua states that it's the shared responsibility of Valuable Finance to rebuild Sri Lanka and to face the most daunting challenges solidly. Minister of Finance announced last Monday that the Treasury has released the necessary funds to purchase paddy from the yellow season. The government has initially planned to commence the purchasing of yellow season paddy harvest directly from the farmers from the end of June.
The process of purchasing paddy from the yellow season was due to commence on the 29th of June. The Paddy Marketing Board has also planned to purchase a kilo of paddy on the government certified price of 50 rupees. Finance Ministry in a statement said that Treasury has released 10.4 billion rupees to purchase 200,000 metric tons of paddy in this yellow season, and the Paddy Purchasing Board will arrange the storage facility as well as the processing measures. In recent years, a kilogram of Nadu paddy was bought at 38 rupees and a kilogram of Samba paddy at 41 rupees. According to the President's Vision for Prosperity Policy statement, the new government will keep its all purchasing centres open to purchase the yellow season harvest at a price of 50 rupees per kilogram, giving a higher price for all varieties. Accordingly, to ensure a higher price for paddy harvest, warehouses of the Paddy Marketing Board located island-wide have already been opened to purchase paddy at the guaranteed price of 50 rupees per kilogram. The government also expects that the funds allocated to the Paddy Marketing Board will be enough to purchase the entire harvest of paddy at government-guaranteed prices without any delay.
Stay tuned for more news right after this break. Welcome back after the break. Former permanent representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations at Geneva, Tamara Kunanayakam explains that signing the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement with the USA will not be beneficial for a dependent country like Sri Lanka, since USA has been usually benefited by the bilateral agreements with its hegemonic power. Addressing a press conference conducted by the Professionals National Front to clarify issues on the MCC agreement last Monday, Thamara Kunanayakam also explained how the bilateral conditionalities of MCC are different to those of the World Bank and the IMF.
The US has been privileging bilateral agreements as opposed to multilateral agreements because bilateral agreements are inherently unequal, especially if it's a treaty that is signed between a power like the United States, which is a hegemonic power, and a country like ours, which is totally integrated and dependent economically and socially on the United States and on the West in general. And in fact, we are even dependent on them to provide jobs for our people because we cannot provide jobs to our own people. So we are absolutely dependent on country outside and especially the United States. So there is no way we can have an equal treaty. What is novel and coercive about the MCC is that it has this preemptive method of administering aid, which means that it requires the state to implement the conditions before they receive the money, unlike the World Bank and IMF conditionalities or other Western bilateral conditionalities. The US, the MCC, requires the state to implement the reforms before you get the money. So that's why we have to be careful.
Former Foreign Secretary and known diplomat Dr. Palitha Kohana stresses that the government should express their candid opinion on the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement at least soon after the forthcoming general election without further delaying it, thus leading to a trust deficit on the people.
We know that a committee was appointed, the Gunaruwan Committee, to go into the pros and cons of this proposed agreement. The Gunaruwan Committee has recommended against concluding this agreement. But up to date, we don't know where we are on it. Is the government proposing to agree to this, or is the government going to shelve it? We also heard recently that the government will appoint another subcommittee to go into this, a cabinet subcommittee. And then the people who are supposed to go on this cabinet subcommittee, as opposed to those who were in the Gunaruwan Committee, who were academics and highly acclaimed persons in our society, are individuals who probably don't even have their O-levels. So what is going on? Are we being subjected to a game here where we are being tossed around? Our concerns are being played around with? I hope that at least after the election, the government will take a firm stance and deal with the electorate with a lot more transparency than it has been doing so far. And this is very important because a lot of confidence was placed in what we did in November last year when we elected a new president, and I believe the same confidence will be placed in the electors after the general election in another 2 weeks' time.
Sri Lanka Insurance, in collaboration with Lanka Hospitals, has unveiled a service counter at the Lanka Hospitals premises to enhance the accessibility of their services and to deliver customer convenience to the public.
Accordingly, the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation service counter at Lanka Hospitals was declared open with the presence of the chairman of Sri Lanka Insurance, Jagat Wellavatta, Group Chairman of Lanka Hospitals, Dr. Bandula Vijayasriwardana, and other members of both organizations. With the opening of the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation service counter, Lanka Hospital's patients, guests and staff members have the opportunity to experience an array of insurance solutions provided by Sri Lanka Insurance. The SLIC service counter facilitates the purchase of insurance policies, obtaining information on insurance plans, making premium payments, expediting medical insurance claims at the time of patient discharge, and many other services. Furthermore, Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation Motor Plus policy holders can now avail special discounts up to 20% on medical packages by presenting their insurance card at Lanka Hospitals.
We have just opened a special counter at the Lanka Hospitals. Now, the main purpose behind having this counter is we know that there are a lot of customers as well as patients who visit this place and who may need certain insurance related services. So we want to give all these services at the same under one roof. Plus, we are also announcing something unique for all our customers, Motor Plus policyholders, we will be extending together with Lanka Hospitals a discount up to 20%. So anybody who has the Motor Plus insurance certificate, by producing it, can claim a discount up to 20%.
In a recent webinar series conducted by the Sri Lanka Wellness Tourism Association and the Export Development Board, it was stressed that Sri Lanka is well suited for a retirement village concept that caters to the elderly wellness client, and that the village concept can be endorsed by the government and supported as Board of Investment Ventures.
Bringing the best of wellness tourism to a domestic audience, the Sri Lanka Wellness Tourism Association and the Export Development Board concluded its third and final webinar of a tripart series, Wellness, a New Paradigm in Sri Lankan Tourism, recently. With a $600 billion global market valuation, the wellness sector grew over 6% between 2015 to 2017, doubling the growth of the broader tourism industry, and it was noted that Sri Lanka is certainly a formidable drive in this sector. Moreover, in the webinar, it was added that with a track record of admirable clinical outcomes, internationally accredited technology, complemented by globally accoladed touristic hotspots, Sri Lanka can offer a value-added package with a unique proposition to the international medical traveller. Thus, on a positive note, it was mentioned that with more public-private stakeholders along with the Sri Lanka Wellness Tourism Association interest in the sector, reforms will be accelerated through legislative frameworks, operating guidelines and timely regulations that will be gazetted soon to give a fresh impetus to this burgeoning sector. Subsequently, as global demographics shift to a gradually aging population, governments are further pressured to invest in rigid welfare schemes. Against this backdrop, the subject experts added that not only Sri Lanka can offer competitive rates, but Sri Lanka also has the ideal environment to take care of elderly needs in either a hospital setting or a home placement, and that Sri Lanka is well suited for a retirement village concept that caters to the elderly wellness client. The village concept can be endorsed by the government and supported as BOI ventures.
That's all news for today. Take care and good night.